I'd now like to introduce Paul Gilman, Senior Vice President and Chief Sustainability Officer for Covanta Energy. Prior to joining Covanta, Paul has held senior government positions for organizations including the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the White House Office of Management and Budget for Natural Resources, Energy and Science, and the U.S. Secretary of Energy for Technical Matters. Paul.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you all. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. What I took away from last night was we were tough on Metro Vancouver. Everyone's inclination to say we can do better on reducing and reusing and recycling came across as we were disappointed in the accomplishments of Metro Vancouver, and I don't think that's fair. A 55% diversion rate is a world-class rate. Metro Vancouver also has an element of its integrated waste plan that only about 90 communities in North America have, and that's capture of energy from the waste. About 15% of the waste is processed that way here in Metro Vancouver. In contrast, there are over 400 communities in Europe that use that technology. I'm really here to speak to that part of the, sorry about that, that part of the thinking for Metro Vancouver of increasing the reduction, reuse, and recycling and the recovery of energy, trying to minimize the waste that would go to landfill, either reduce, reuse, recycle, or recover that energy. It's a way to produce renewable energy. The energy that's produced from a waste-to-energy facility is about 14 times greater from a given mass of waste than the capture of gas from a landfill. By sending waste through this process, you reduce the volume by about 90% so that you can extend the life of the landfills that you do have, and you're not as inclined to need to extend the life or start new landfills. And lastly, an element of waste energy that's very well understood in Europe, beginning to be better understood in North America, is the climate benefits of it. By the production of that energy, you're actually producing less greenhouse gas from fossil sources, and you are displacing fossil sources in most grids. And lastly, you're preventing that waste from going to a landfill where it produces methane, which is a much more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. I should do a disclaimer here. My company is involved in the Burnaby waste-to-energy facility here for Metro Vancouver, operating it for Metro Vancouver. And we also are engaged in a project which we think could be very complementary to Metro Vancouver's desire to process more waste, not at landfills, but in waste-to-energy, a project called Gold River, which would be located on Vancouver Island, not in the airshed for Metro Vancouver in this area, which we think is a potential benefit for the region, and would also sort of divert waste from the Vancouver landfill. One thing that's not, I spoke a little bit to the greenhouse gas benefits of waste to energy. Another element of that is, in fact, for the energy produced, most folks don't realize this, but the emissions from an energy from waste or waste to energy facility are actually less per unit of waste converted than from a landfill. And that's quite a dramatic thing to be able to say, but it's a pretty well documented fact. Another element I guess I'd call to the attention of, we spoke a lot about the cost of building energy from waste facilities last night, a fair amount. There are a number of ways to finance them. In many cases, metropolitan areas are bonding to finance them. In some cases, like our Gold River project, companies like my own are willing to take the risk on financing a project like that in order to minimize any disruption to the cost of disposal of that waste. So if we get into that, I'm happy to talk to that as well again tonight. And why don't I just stop there? Thank you, Peter.